When preparing for Aliyah from the United Kingdom, understanding the role of your ketubah in the immigration process is crucial for ensuring a smooth application. The ketubah, your Jewish marriage contract, serves as more than just a ceremonial document. It functions as vital religious documentation that can significantly strengthen your proof of Jewish identity when applying for Israeli citizenship under the law of return. Your ketubah occupies a unique position among the documents required for Aliyah. As one of the accepted religious documents for proving Jewish identity, it demonstrates conclusively that you were married according to Jewish law, halakha, which inherently confirms your Jewish status at the time of marriage. This is particularly valuable if your ketubah explicitly refers to you as Jewish, as it provides contemporaneous religious testimony of your Jewish identity from the time of your wedding ceremony. The document carries special weight because it represents formal recognition by Jewish religious authorities of your status within the Jewish community. Unlike secular documents that merely record civil facts, the ketubah embodies a religious court's bait din's acknowledgement of your Jewish identity, making it especially persuasive evidence for Israeli immigration authorities who must verify Jewish credentials under the law of return. However, it's essential to understand the limitations of what your ketubah can accomplish in the Aliyah process. While it serves as powerful supporting religious documentation, Israeli authorities maintain strict requirements for civil documentation that cannot be circumvented. You must still provide the government-issued marriage certificate with proper apostille certification from the UK Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office. The ketubah supplements but does not replace these civil requirements, creating a dual documentation approach that satisfies both religious and civil verification standards. Beyond your own ketubah, your parents' ketubah may prove equally important and, in some cases, more crucial to your Aliyah application. This requirement stems from the fundamental principle that Jewish identity, for law of return purposes, often relies on demonstrating maternal Jewish lineage, or, in certain circumstances, paternal Jewish heritage through multiple generations. Your parents' ketubah serves several vital functions in establishing your Jewish credentials. Most importantly, it provides contemporaneous religious documentation that your Jewish parent was recognized as Jewish at the time of their marriage. This is particularly significant because it represents independent verification of Jewish status from a period potentially decades before your Aliyah application, when such documentation was created for religious rather than immigration purposes. For those claiming Jewish identity through maternal lineage, the parent's ketubah can definitively establish that your mother was Jewish when you were born. The ketubah's religious language typically identifies both parties as Jewish, providing the halakhic evidence necessary to support your claim. This becomes especially valuable when other documentation of your mother's Jewish identity may be incomplete or unavailable. In cases involving patrilineal Jewish descent, where applicants claim eligibility through a Jewish father or grandfather, the parent's ketubah assumes even greater importance. Since patrilineal claims face enhanced scrutiny from Israeli authorities, having comprehensive documentation that demonstrates multi-generational Jewish involvement strengthens your application considerably. Your parent's ketubah shows not just that your father was Jewish, but that he participated in Jewish religious life through proper halakhic marriage. The parent's ketubah also helps establish family patterns of Jewish observance and community involvement that extend beyond individual claims. Israeli authorities often look for evidence of sustained Jewish identity across generations rather than isolated instances of Jewish connection. A ketubah from your parents' generation, combined with your own, creates a documentary timeline that demonstrates ongoing Jewish religious practice within your family. Additionally, parents' ketubot become crucial when there are gaps or weaknesses in other family documentation. Holocaust destruction, Soviet suppression of Jewish identity, or simple loss of records over time may have eliminated other proof of your parents' Jewish status. In such cases, a surviving ketubah may represent the only formal religious documentation available to support your lineage claims. The discovery that your original ketubah has been lost, damaged, or misplaced can initially seem like a significant obstacle to your Aliyah plans. However, Jewish law and modern administrative practices provide several viable pathways to resolve this documentation gap. According to traditional Jewish law, halacha, when a ketubah is lost, religious authorities consider it both permissible and necessary to create a replacement document. This principle, established in classical Jewish legal texts, recognizes that the ketubah serves ongoing legal and religious purposes that shouldn't be negated by the accidental loss of the physical document. The replacement ketubah carries the same religious and legal weight as the original, provided it's created through proper channels. Your first step should be contacting the rabbi who performed your wedding ceremony or the synagogue where your marriage took place. Many rabbis maintain detailed records of ceremonies they've performed, and some may have retained copies of the ketubah text or ceremony details. Even if the exact document isn't available, the rabbi's records can provide the necessary information to recreate an accurate replacement. If the original officiating rabbi is unavailable, whether due to retirement, relocation, or other circumstances, you should reach out to other members of the Beit Din, rabbinical court, who witnessed your marriage. Jewish weddings typically require a 3-member rabbinical court, and surviving members may possess copies of the documentation or sufficient knowledge of the ceremony to vouch for its authenticity and proper execution according to Jewish law. Securing your parents' ketubah often presents unique challenges, particularly given the potential age of the document and the likelihood that the original officiating authorities may no longer be available. However, several strategies can help locate or replace this crucial documentation. Begin by searching through family records and contacting relatives who may have retained copies or photographs of your parents' ketubah. Wedding photographs sometimes include images of the ketubah signing ceremony or the document itself, which can provide sufficient detail for recreation purposes. Family members who attended the wedding may also possess copies that were distributed as keepsakes. Contact the synagogue where your parents were married, even if decades have passed. Many synagogues maintain historical records, and successor rabbis often inherit documentation from their predecessors. If the original synagogue no longer exists, check with local Jewish historical societies or community organizations that may have acquired institutional records. For older ketubot that predate modern record-keeping practices, consider reaching out to rabbinical organizations or seminaries associated with the officiating rabbi. These institutions sometimes maintain biographical records or successor contact information that can help locate surviving documentation or authorize replacements. When traditional replacement options prove insufficient, modern technology offers an innovative solution through electronic certificates issued by recognized Batei Din, rabbinical courts. This contemporary approach acknowledges both the realities of lost documentation and the need for verifiable religious credentials in international immigration processes. An electronic certificate from a qualified Beit Din serves as official documentation confirming that your Jewish marriage took place according to halakha. Crucially, this certificate provides the same evidentiary value as an original ketubah for Aliyah purposes, making it a fully acceptable substitute in your application package. The electronic format also offers practical advantages, including reduced risk of loss or damage and easier integration with digital application processes. The certificate doesn't need to come from the original Beit Din that oversaw your wedding ceremony. Any recognized Beit Din with proper authority can issue the electronic certificate based on available evidence of your Jewish marriage. This flexibility significantly expands your options when seeking replacement documentation, particularly if the original officiating authorities are no longer accessible. This electronic certification option applies equally to parents' ketubah, providing a viable solution when historical documentation cannot be located through traditional means. However, the certifying Beit Din will require substantial evidence of the original ceremony's occurrence and halachic validity before issuing replacement documentation for marriages they did not personally oversee. The effectiveness of any ketubah replacement, whether traditional or electronic, depends heavily on its source's recognition by Israeli authorities. While there's no publicly available list of approved rabbis or batei din, certain patterns of recognition have emerged through practical experience. Orthodox rabbis and Orthodox batei din generally receive the highest level of acceptance from Israeli immigration authorities. This reflects Israel's religious establishment's theological positions, but it also represents practical considerations about documentation reliability and standardization. Conservative rabbis and institutions typically face moderate scrutiny but are often accepted, particularly when their credentials and community standing are well established. Reform rabbis and institutions may encounter more significant challenges, though acceptance isn't impossible with proper documentation and community support. The certificate must include comprehensive details about your Jewish marriage ceremony, explicitly confirming that both parties were Jewish at the time of marriage. This information helps Israeli authorities understand not just that a Jewish ceremony occurred, but that it involved individuals who were halachically eligible for Jewish marriage. The document should be prepared on official letterhead, include the Beit Din's contact information and credentials, and bear proper signatures from authorized rabbinical authorities. Beyond the technical requirements, the certificate should provide sufficient detail to allow Israeli authorities to verify its authenticity if questions arise. This might include references to the original ceremony date, location, and any surviving witnesses or documentation that supports the electronic certificate's claims. When pursuing ketubah replacement or electronic certification for your Aliyah application, timing and preparation become crucial factors. Begin this process early in your Aliyah preparation, ideally 12 to 18 months before your planned immigration date, to allow sufficient time for research, document creation, and any necessary follow-up verification. Gather all available information about your original wedding ceremony and your parents' ceremony before contacting potential certifying authorities. This includes dates, locations, names of officiating rabbis, witness information, and any surviving photographs or documentation from the ceremonies. The more complete information you can provide, the easier it becomes for a Beit Din to issue comprehensive replacement documentation. Consider obtaining multiple forms of supporting documentation rather than relying solely on the ketubah replacements. Community testimonies, synagogue membership records, and other evidence of your Jewish identity and marriage can strengthen your overall application package and provide backup verification if questions arise about any single document. Create a systematic approach to document collection that addresses both your generation and your parents' generation simultaneously. This coordinated strategy ensures consistency in your documentation and helps identify any gaps that need to be addressed through alternative evidence or community testimony. When seeking replacement of parents' ketubot, be prepared to provide as much detail as possible about the original ceremony, including approximate dates, locations, names of officiating rabbis, and any family testimony about the wedding's religious character. This information helps certifying authorities create accurate replacement documentation that reflects the original ceremony's halachic validity. The ketubah, or its electronic replacement, represents just one component of your comprehensive Aliyah documentation package. When properly obtained and presented alongside your other required documents, civil marriage certificates, Jewish identity verification, and supporting religious documentation, It contributes to a robust application that demonstrates your eligibility for Israeli citizenship under the law of return. Understanding both its importance and its limitations ensures you can navigate the documentation requirements effectively while maintaining realistic expectations about the overall Aliyah process.